Tonight, a final farewell to the Queen.
Few leaders receive the outpouring of love that we have seen.
Dignitaries from around the world joined the royal family at Westminster Abbey as thousands lined the streets outside to say goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II as she is laid to rest. Plus,
I get a lot of paralysis on the right side of my face. I have a lot of trouble with language.
the province is working on a strategy to help people struggling with long COVID. Those who've been living with the debilitating symptoms say more support can't come soon enough. And
we used to be afraid at night, but now it's any time of day, it seems like.
residents in Burlington are urged to be vigilant after a 7th coyote attack in recent months. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Britain and the world said a final goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II today in a ceremony steeped in centuries of tradition. Her state funeral drawing presidents and kings, princes and prime ministers, as well as crowds gathering in droves along the streets of London to honor her and her 70-year reign. Thomas Dagla was there.
It was a day planned for decades, but also one that many in Britain could never imagine. As Queen Elizabeth's coffin draped in the royal standard was brought to Westminster Abbey, it all became real. London hasn't seen this many foreign dignitaries assembled in the same place for generations. And the royal family has never mourned a monarch who served for this long.
We come to this house of God, to a place of prayer, to a church where remembrance and hope are sacred duties. Here, where Queen Elizabeth was married and crowned, we gather from across the nation, from the Commonwealth, and from the nations of the world, to mourn our loss.
Former British prime ministers have all said they counted on Elizabeth's wise words. 15th in the Queen's reign, Liz Truss only got one audience before the monarch's passing.
Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me.
As emotional and symbolic as the funeral was, some of the most striking scenes were still to come. With the gun carriage transporting the Queen's coffin across central London, her family followed. Crowds lined the route to say their final goodbyes as Elizabeth left London one last time. The hearse taking the motorway for Windsor, where the Queen lived as a child and again through the pandemic. The 5-kilometer-long walk leading to the castle served as the backdrop as locals who considered her a neighbor and royal fans from abroad all came to view the Queen's coffin. Carefully carried up the west steps of St. George's Chapel and into the committal service.
We have come together to commit into the hands of God the soul of his servant Queen Elizabeth.
The Dean of Windsor led the service. The Queen knew him and this 15th century Gothic church where she came to worship. The same place she witnessed weddings and the funeral of her beloved husband just last year. None of those moments were like this one. As the royal jeweler removed the ornate instruments of state, the monarch's orb and scepter and the imperial state crown, it signaled the end of the era of Queen Elizabeth II. King Charles watched with his time as monarch only beginning. His reign won't eclipse his mother's, and this day reminded everyone of its magnitude.
The Queen's final resting place is next to that of her late husband, Prince Philip. This place has seen 1,000 years of royal history, and this moment is as significant as any. Thomas Dagla, CBC News, Windsor, England.
Like millions across the globe, many people in our city watched the funeral live, waking up very early this morning to catch it on TV. Chris Glover now with the different ways people in the GTA are remembering the Queen.
Some Toronto pubs opened before sunrise. Coffee flowing for the early morning funeral watchers.
We started at 5:30 in the morning in our hotel room because they started the viewing party here at 6:30 and it was not early enough.
On the wall, sandwiched between screens showing her funeral, a photo from Elizabeth's coronation in 1953. For Marie Michelle Siu, a reminder of a trailblazer.
She was not a spouse, a wife attending a +1 attending events in the 60s and 70s. She was the head of state, and just how much the world has changed since that time, and it just gives me the chills to think what she has seen and what she has gone through.
A loyal party of one at Mississauga's Celebration Square.
I just felt it was more respectful rather than getting up and watching it in my pajamas. To me it felt I had to be here.
Barbara Weber moved to Canada many years ago, but says her heart remains in England with the late Queen.
She was loved by everybody. It's hard for people to understand if you're not British. It's just something that we all love her.
The same last post that sounded at the funeral echoed at a ceremony for the Queen outside Toronto City Hall. The solo trumpeter who performed it says he's played for the Queen several times before, but this last tribute felt more personal.
You never really thought about it until it happened, and then it hit me, and it more emotional than I thought it would be.
At 1 p.m., bells tolled across the GTA, like the one at Old City Hall, tolling once per minute 96 times to mark the late Queen's age at death, kicking off a provincial moment of silence. The mayor laying a bouquet of flowers for the Queen at a place she herself dedicated on her 1984 visit to the city. In a metropolis known for its hustle, transit paused for 96 seconds, a deafening halt to honor the late monarch. At the East York Civic Center, 3 legions united to remember the Queen.
She touched so many hearts, and now we're here to say goodbye. So goodbye, Queen.
Ken Buchanan says the Queen inspired him to join the Legion, and he spoke to her on Zoom a few months ago as part of the Special Olympics.
We talked about Special Olympics, how we can make it better for the world, how we can make people feel like they're wanted.
He says that's a legacy he'll never say goodbye to. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
To other news now. One person is dead, another is in custody after a stabbing in Mississauga. It happened inside a Canadian Tire near Mavis and Britannia Roads at around 6 this evening. Peel Police providing more details from the scene.
Police arrived, located a female inside. Obviously, they're showing obvious signs of trauma. Unfortunately, she was pronounced deceased on scene. Police also located a male suffering from a minor injury as well. He was placed in police custody and transported to local hospital.
Peel's Homicide Bureau has taken over the investigation. Police say they believe this was an isolated incident and there is no further threat to public safety. Protesters gathered downtown tonight to express outrage over the death of a 22-year-old woman in Tehran on Friday. Mahsa Amini was detained by Iran's so-called morality police after officers apparently found fault with her headscarf or hijab. She slipped into a coma and died in custody.
Iranians' voices need to be heard. We are sick and tired of this brutality, of the governance of Sharia law that specifically makes the women's life a living hell.
The world needs to choose between us or the regime, and it's the time. Hear our voice. It's the only thing that we need.
The headscarf has been compulsory for women in Iran since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, and members of the morality police enforce the strict dress code. Police say that Amini suffered a heart attack and that she was not physically harmed by the officers. Iran's president has ordered a probe into her death. Well, the province has been working on a strategy to better support those struggling with long COVID, with more details on the plan expected to be released soon. Now, the condition has left some people unable to work for months or even years now. As Lorena Redicott reports, for them, the help can't come soon enough.
I'm trying to adjust to being a disabled person, and it's really difficult.
Sonia Malley used to work as a tattoo artist in Toronto, was always busy, loved the outdoors. She says in March 2020, she got COVID and hasn't been able to work since.
Really debilitating migraines, I get a lot of paralysis on the right side of my face, very much stroke-like symptoms. I have a lot of trouble with language, memory loss.
She's glad the Ontario government is looking at funding for long COVID, with long waits for the few COVID clinics that do exist.
The potential impact can be huge on our healthcare system and our economy.
This COVID researcher is part of the National Task Force on the post-COVID condition. He recognizes the challenge for governments with more than 100 symptoms that make up long COVID, but says it's critical more support is available for patients.
They have lost everything that made them who they were. They are no longer working at all. They're very stressed about their financial situation. People will tell me that they're lucky if they can get out of bed for 2 hours a day without feeling exhausted for 3 days after that.
He'll be leading a clinical trial soon, testing 6 different medications. And while Dr. Quinn says vaccinations have meant fewer cases of long COVID, it's still happening in as high as 10% of cases.
We're going to see the long tail of COVID for a number of years to come, and even with vaccines, we're still seeing cases.
Sonia Malley is also part of an online COVID long hauler group that advocates for more supports. She recently applied for disability after relying on her savings, including to send for testing in the US and UK. She has questions about what else long COVID could mean.
Are you looking at cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, autoimmune diseases? It's terrifying.
In addition to more treatment options, she wants the government to add more financial support. Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
Dahlia Ashry now joins us with a first look at the forecast. And Dahlia, a bit wet, but still very warm out there today, feeling very much like summer still.
That's right, Kelda. I mean, it did feel like summer earlier today, and then we had some rain as well, some scattered showers. And tomorrow, though, we get a break and then back to those rainy conditions on Wednesday. But for the most part, it's the humidity that we're going to be talking about for tomorrow in the next few days. And there is that countdown for fall as well. The daytime highs Toronto today, 28 degrees, Windsor 28, and St. Catharines 24. Now, St. Catharines also had a severe thunderstorm watch, and so did Niagara region and St. Catharines as well. Now, it is going to be a windy day tomorrow. It was a windy day earlier today. Winds will be gusting up to 30 kilometers an hour overnight tonight, and it will get much stronger as you drop off the kids at school tomorrow or you're heading to work on your commutes. It'll be 35 kilometers an hour. Now, as for tonight, though, temperatures will calm down. It will be 50 degrees, a little bit colder, and then tomorrow, 26 degrees, feeling more like 28 with that humidity. We'll have more later on when fall is and what the weather is going to be looking like in the next few days.
Looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Dahlia. The city of Burlington is urging residents to be vigilant after yet another coyote attack. This latest attack happened on Saturday. 7 people have now been attacked by coyotes this summer, all in the same general area. Today, the city announced that they have eliminated 2 coyotes they believe to be responsible, with 1 still out there. Greg Ross reports.
Residents in Burlington have been on edge lately.
We used to be afraid at night, but now it's any time of day, it seems like.
This woman tells us that there have been coyote sightings in her neighborhood for years now, but they've never been so aggressive. 7 people have now been attacked since July. All of the attacks have happened within a few kilometers of each other in the city's south end, forcing many in the area to take extra precautions when leaving their homes.
We've bought some things to make noise, just to make sure we're safe on walks.
I'm taking a high-powered flashlight with me because if you flash it in their eyes, that steers them off.
I mean, I think the mood's really, concerning, right?
This man has captured the coyotes on his property multiple times with security cameras.
Very close to home, yeah. I've got a 1 and a 3-year-old, and I would be terrified, right, if something happened to them.
Just a few doors away from him, a child was attacked, a 2.5-year-old boy in his own backyard.
The boy started screaming. The father runs out, sees blood, looks closer, sees bite marks on the child's neck, and then looks up and there's a coyote in his backyard.
Burlington Mayor Marianne Mead Ward says the city has brought in wildlife experts to help track the coyotes. So far, they believe that they've been able to find 2 of the coyotes responsible for the attacks and put them down. But they believe there is still a 3rd on the loose.
They're now looking for a copper-colored coyote. It's very distinctive. I've seen the photos, and this one has been cited by some of the victims.
The city says experts tell them it was likely a family of coyotes.
They've learned not to fear humans, probably because somebody is feeding them.
The city says all 7 victims who were attacked were given rabies treatment as a precaution. They say anybody who is attacked should seek medical attention immediately and report the attack to Halton Region. Greg Ross, CBC News.
Welcome back. A powerful earthquake struck near the coast of Mexico today. The quake happening on the anniversary of 2 other devastating quakes in the country's history. The 7.6 magnitude quake hit at 1:05 p.m. local time off Aquila on the west coast of Mexico. There were no immediate reports of damage, but it sent residents of Mexico City nearly 500 kilometers away, running onto the streets for safety. It comes on the same date as 2 previous earthquakes, one in 1985 that killed thousands. The other happened 5 years ago, killing 350 people. 7 million people taking refuge after a typhoon made landfall in the city's southwest. In some areas, the rainfall measured 50 centimeters. Japan's Weather Bureau issued a rare warning that's only used when conditions are considered the most severe in decades. Hurricane Fiona made landfall over the Dominican Republic today, and it's expected to intensify. The storm is still hitting parts of Puerto Rico a day after reaching the island. Cameron McIntosh has more.
At first light, the first attempts at cleanup after winds packing 140 kilometers an hour swept the island, scattering trees and power lines, initially knocking out power to more than 3 million people. While flooding from up to 76 centimeters of rain in some places wiped out critical roads and connections, including this bridge installed after Hurricane Maria. Hospitals evacuated, while many people fled their homes. We're here because the house is in a flood zone and it's not in very good condition, says Indua Correa Gonzalez, in a shelter with his mother. I'm worried because it's an old house and it needs repairs. We'll see what happens. Damage, injuries are just starting to be assessed. It will take days to fully restore power on an island still recovering from 2017's Hurricane Maria, which struck 5 years ago this week, killing more than 3,000 people and wiping out the power grid. Officials say lessons were learned there. Emergency provisions have been stashed around the island, including water. Hundreds of thousands are currently without. Still, by early assessments, the damage won't be as bad as 2017.
We're basically responding at this point. The next step will be recovery. We're not there yet.
That's not to say it's not severe. Flooding along the Guanibo River is already higher than 2017, up 5 meters in just 24 hours.
Unfortunately, the situation in Puerto Rico is not good and not looking to improve until later today when these bands finally start to pull away.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency is coordinating relief in the American territory. Still, Fiona is far from done, also making landfall in the Dominican Republic. The hurricane expected to only pick up power as it tracks north towards Bermuda later this week. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And this is a live look at the Toronto skyline tonight. Mainly clear tonight and in the overnight. Currently, it is 19 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Dahlia with a more detailed look at your forecast. And Dahlia, this humidity sticking around for the next couple of days as we inch closer to the official start of fall.
That's right, Kelda. I mean, we still have a few days left of summer, so let's bask in that and enjoy it while it lasts. We still have that humidity that's sticking around. Tomorrow, some dry conditions, but then rain will be back on its way eventually, like we experienced earlier today, along with that humidity. I mean, the daytime high in Toronto today is 28 degrees, a little bit cooler in St. Catharines, 24 degrees, and Kingston, 22 degrees. So there was that low pressure that was coming in across the province, and there was a severe thunderstorm watch for areas like St. Catharines, Niagara, and as well Oshawa. Oshawa. Now, we will be expecting some rain on Wednesday, but first let's talk about the windy conditions that we experienced earlier today. And as we head into tomorrow and the day after, we will be expecting winds to be gusting up to 35 kilometers an hour tomorrow on your way to work, even though it's going to be humid, but you will get that lovely breeze in as well. And then it will calm down and get lighter by around 3 p.m. and then it will pick back up and become strong again on Wednesday. Will be about 35 kilometers an hour. So quite a windy day as well on Friday or on Wednesday, sorry, along with the humidity. Now we are expecting rain as well, but that's not until Wednesday as well. So you're going to mix that in with the windy conditions. And there's also a risk of a thunderstorm on Wednesday as well. You can see that low pressure system and the precipitation activity and the risk of a thunderstorm moving in and moving on out. And then Thursday, a little bit more of a dry day, but some scattered showers can be expected on Thursday around 3 o'clock. Now, as for tonight, temperatures will drop. It'll be a little bit cooler. It'll be 15 degrees, clear skies, a little bit cooler in Mississauga, 14 degrees, same thing in Markham and most of the Golden Horseshoe region. Now, as for Tuesday, so tomorrow, like I said, 26 degrees. It'll feel more like 28 with that humidity. Now, the most humid day that we're going to be experiencing really this week will be Wednesday, along with that risk of a thunderstorm. So you will need your umbrellas, but also stay hydrated on Wednesday. That low pressure system will continue. And then Thursday, scattered showers. Friday, back to those dry conditions. But Thursday is also first day of fall. And along with those scattered showers, I think we're really going to feel it and those single digits in the evening. Kelda?
Right. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.